Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Indu Jain, Assistant Professor, B.Ed Department, IIMT College of Science and Technology, Greater Noida. Today, our topic of this session is teaching strategies. Teaching strategies, which are also known as instructional strategies, are the different methods that teachers use to deliver course material in the ways that keep students engaged and practicing different skill sets. In other words, teaching strategies are the techniques and the methods that a teacher applies to support student learning. The teaching strategies are selected according to the current level of the knowledge of the students and the concept being studied. This term strategies has been used popularly in case of battle or war. Basically, it is a plan of action which is designed to achieve success in the war or to achieve a long-term aim. Teaching strategy is a purposefully conceived and determined plan of action. Means teaching strategy is framed according to some purpose or to fulfill some purpose. Our teaching strategy is very much important for a smooth transaction of curriculum. There are some definitions which are given by different educationists to define teaching strategies. In the words of E. Stones and S. Morris, teaching strategy is a generalized plan for a lesson which includes the structure, desired learner behavior in terms of goals of instructions, or we can say the different objectives, and an outline of planned tactics necessary to implement the strategy. According to B.O. Smith, an instruction strategy or teaching strategy refers to a pattern of teaching acts that serve to attain certain outcomes or to guard against others. This is a broad classification of the teaching strategies. There are two broad categories of teaching strategies. First one is autocratic and the second one is democratic strategies. Autocratic strategies involves those teaching methods in which teacher plays primary role and student as secondary. Means teacher decides what material to present and how to present it. In such types of teaching strategies, teachers remain active throughout the process, but students remain passive. We can say that such type of strategies are teacher-centered. All the process of teaching learning is done according to the teacher. But in democratic strategies, these strategies are child-centered strategies in which a student remains active throughout the process, but teacher plays the role of a guide for the students. In such strategies, teacher decides the content and the method of presenting the content according to the need of the students. So such type of strategies are psychological in nature. The examples of autocratic strategy, or we can say that further division of autocratic strategies are lecture strategy, demonstration, tutorial, narration, illustration, exposition, description, explanation, supervised study as teaching, programmed instruction, review, recapitulation. All these methods involve teacher as primary and student as secondary. Or we can say that the role of teacher is primary and student is treated as secondary. The examples of democratic strategies are group work, discovery or heuristic, project, assignment, brainstorming, role playing, team teaching, problem solving, question answer, dramatization, independent study, drill work, excursion, strategy of employing audiovisual aids, group discussion, sensitivity training, computer assisted instruction, CAI. All these strategies are democratic in nature. Students can do according to their will. The first example of this autocratic strategy is lecture strategy. Lecture strategy is autocratic in nature. It is a traditional method of teaching. This method, this lecture method or lecture strategy is oldest method in which the teacher or guru gave instruction to his students or shishya, and students had to follow that instruction. Here, a teacher plays a primary role and all the work done according to his. Now, this is the introduction for this lecture method. This lecture method of strategy, this lecture strategy of teaching or lecture method of teaching is when an instructor shares knowledge with a group of students by speaking to them and guiding them through a topic step by step. Means the whole topic is divided into small steps and the teacher moves according to these steps. The simplest way to define the lecture method of teaching is that the teacher speaks and the student listens. As you already see in this slide, that the teacher speaks and the students are just the listener. Teachers can quickly deliver a lot of information using this lecture method. The main speaker is usually the teacher, while the students are just the listeners. This lecture method is just one-way flow of information. The teacher provides the information or instructions to the students, and the students just listen the information given by the teacher. This is due to the fact that teacher can teach a large number of students at the same time. As a result, depends on the lecture to keep the topic interesting and on the student to be attentive in seeking the explanation. There are certain points which must be remembered to deliver effective lecture. To make the lecture effective or interesting, there are certain points which keep in mind during using this strategy. First one is plan the body of lecture. It is very essential for teachers to have a solid plan that facilitate the learning process for their students. For every work, planning is very essential, and so for the lecture is too. Planning is essential and has to be implemented in the class to improve the quality of the lecturing process. Teachers should analyze their students and come up with a plan that fulfill the learning requirements of the students. It is also very necessary to provide certain examples during the lecture to make the lecture interesting and understanding. Always try to link things the students likely know to things that teacher is trying to teach. Means there is very necessary, this is very necessary to connect the previous knowledge of the students to the new one. Thinking about the bridging examples before the lecture will keep the lecture delivery more crisp and focused. Next, very important point is to summarize the content periodically. Since many students take notes during a lecture, summaries of the presented concept help students quickly review what they have written to validate their notes or change incorrect interpretation to promote better accuracy. During the lecture, it is very important to check the understanding of the students about that particular topic. So, try to make the lecture two-way. Lecture should not be one way. Make sure that students must understand what teacher have presented by asking a few direct questions about the big concept presented. What is the benefit of it? This will increase the concentration of the students. Now, there are certain skills which are very much required for making the lecture to be effective. First one is communication skill. Teaching is a process in which communication plays very important role. Communication skills allow teachers to present the concept in a comprehensible way to the students. In this way, students will be able to understand the learning concept in a better way. A teacher who has mastered the communication skill will be able to keep students engrossed or attentive in the class and will be able to develop an interest in learning. Second skill which is required to make the lecture effective is the creative skill. The lecture method opens a sea of opportunity to explore the process of instructing students. When the students are passively listening to the lectures, there's a high chance for them to get distracted and lose interest in learning. Hence, it is in the hands of the teacher to incorporate different creative strategies into the lecturing methodology to instill an interest in the lecture. Or we can say that creativity creates interest in the students. For example, if a teacher is teaching a drama to the students, he or she can deliver the dialogues using various sound modulations, tones, and sounds that fit the setting of the scenes. This is again very important skill, time management skill. To improve the productivity of the classroom lectures, teachers should plan to determine which key aspect of a concept they will present in a single lecture. When dealing with a long lesson, the lesson should be break down into small contents or small topics in such a way that it makes it easier the student to understand them or to grasp them. Additionally, teachers should make sure that they are making the best use of time provided and should achieve success. This is again very important skill, that is the class management skill. It is very important for a teacher to manage the class before, during, and after the teaching. Teachers should have the ability to manage the students and the classroom in order to facilitate the lecturing process. If teachers are not able to manage the students in the class, they will not be able to transfer ideas to the students. There will be a gap in the process of teaching and learning, and hence students cannot be able to comprehend the concept taught in the class. If students indulge in the conversation and other activities in the midst of the classroom, so there is a decrease in the effectiveness of the lecture. Hence, teachers should make sure that students are not diverted and are focused on the lecture. There are certain advantages of this lecture method. Lecture method is traditional method. It is a very old method, but there are certain advantages due to which this method is used till date. The advantages of the lecture method of teaching are it saves time. Lecture is a very convenient method for instructing a large group in less time. It is the only efficient method to use if student to faculty ratio is high. If there are large number of students and less number of teachers, then this method is very, very useful. Scalability. Scalability is another advantage of this lecture strategy. A large number of students can be addressed at the same time by a single teacher, single effective teacher, making it a cost-effective and efficient technique, particularly in larger schools or setting with limited resources. This lecture method is very important to provide every student with the same thing. In lecture method, every student in the class is exposed to the same information in the same way. Teacher used the same method or the same procedure to provide the information to each and every student of the class. This consistency guarantees that all students have an equal opportunity to understand the information and decreases the possibility of differences or misunderstanding caused by varying delivery or content. One big advantage of this strategy is that it is good for big groups. When teachers are unable to provide individualized attention to students in larger groups, the lecture method of teaching is used for providing information to a large audience. This strategy assures that everyone in the classroom, regardless of their position in the class, receives the same level of education. providing additional content. Lecture strategy provides additional content to students. Lectures are not just confined of what is written in the textbook or the course material. They go beyond that. Personal insights, real-world experiences, and supplemental knowledge that may not be available through other resources can be included into educators' lectures. This additional knowledge enhances the learning process and students get a broader perspective of every subject. Clear plan. Basically, this lecture strategy is organized as the content is divided into small matter. So this type of lecture, or we can say that the organized style of lectures, ensures that knowledge flows clearly and logically. Educators can prepare the course of study carefully, ensuring that each topic is introduced and developed in a logical manner. This detailed approach not only helps students understand the material, but also allows them to anticipate and prepare for upcoming topics, making their learning journey more smooth and logical. There are certain pros and cons of everything. There are certain disadvantages of lecture study, as lecture strategy is teacher-centered. Students play a passive role in this such type of strategy. This is the biggest problem of this strategy. The disadvantage of this lecture strategy are, first one is lack of development of other skills. Only cognitive level of objectives is fulfilled from such strategy. Lecture does not lead to maximum achievement in developing certain skills like speech skills, because here the students are just listeners. Motor skills, students are just sitting on the bench, they are not doing anything. Cooperative group thinking, no thinking is involved during lecture, and higher order thinking, and so on. It also encourages one-way communication, and such type of communication, one-way communication, is not very good method of communicating to anyone. In this method, only teacher speaks, as we have already discussed, and students have to only listen to the instructions of the teacher. Passive role of students, no provision for the students to participate in lecture strategy or in lecture method. Learning is not a passive process. It is a very active process, but this lecture methods tends to foster passiveness and dependence on instructors. In this lecture strategy, there is very less time for examining students' progress, because a lot of information is provided during a single lecture. So there is little opportunity to estimate students' progress during lecture, and teachers have little accurate mean of determining what and how much their students have learned. This lecture strategy requires very effective speakers. The instructor in this strategy must have the ability to speak clearly and efficiently to the large audience. The very big disadvantage of this lecture strategy is that it presumes the same understanding level of all the students. But it is not so. Lecture presumes that all students learn at the same pace and are at the same level of understanding. Lecture method is not suitable for wide level of ability. So such type of method is not psychological and logical. There are certain suggestions for effective lecture strategies. To make the lecture effective, certain conditions or things are taken into care. First one is maintain eye contact with the class. To make student attentive, it is very important to maintain eye contact with them. It is also helpful in managing the classroom. Second one is avoid detail of the concept. Means the concept can be supplemented with the help of graphs, tables, or illustration so that students become able to understand the topic clearly. It is again very important to write important informations on the whiteboard or the presentation board so that topic is clear to the student. Another important point to remember is define new terms and concepts. To make your lesson effective or to make the new matter clear to the student, it is very important to define certain terms which are new for the student or some difficult terms or concept should be clear to the students during the lecture. Next one is present a relevant example to explain major ideas. With the help of the example, daily life examples further, it is very easy to explain the major ideas. The next one is relate new information to the prior information. With different examples, we can relate the new information with the previous information which are already known by the students. It is again very necessary to relate the previous knowledge and the new knowledge. Periodically, summarize the important ideas during the lecture so that a student can retain these ideas in their brain for a longer period of time. When explain difficult concept, it is very easy to go slowly so that a student can easily understand the topic or the concept. Be always ready to repeat or elaborate the things when needed. When students require to again listen the same topic, then teacher should always ready to repeat it, or if necessary, then elaborate the topic. Use alternative explanations when necessary. If the students are not able to understand a given topic with some explanation, then use some other method to explain the same topic again, so that students are able to understand the topic and the objective of the teaching learning process be fulfilled. It is again very necessary to develop connections by helping students to see relationship between the two things, comparison between the two things, or contrast or analyze the things. So that due to this comparison, contrast, or relationship, students can easily understand the difficult topics or the content. To check the understanding level of the students, it is very necessary to include questions so that it becomes clarified that the information which is presented before the students should be clear in the minds of the students. These are certain suggestions for effective lecture strategy. The next one is demonstration strategy. Demonstration strategy is again autocratic strategy, and it includes verbal explanation with live display or use of certain operators or by doing some experiment. So demonstration include verbal explanation and its live display. Basically, demonstration is a teaching strategy which refers to the visual presentation of the action and activities and practical work related to the facts and principle of a delivered lesson by the teacher in the classroom, aiming to facilitate the task of teaching and learning. The demonstration strategy is a technique in which the instructor demonstrates how to do something to the students. This can be accomplished using actual objects or models or photographs. So in demonstration strategy, by presenting some types of models or photographs, or if possible the actual object, the topic can be cleared to the students or explained to the student. The instructor may explain the steps of the process and respond to the students' inquiries. All students of the class simultaneously gain practice or practical richer experience with the common demonstration exhibited to them by the class teacher. As a result, such demonstration helps them to understand the fact and principles in their proper form, practically as well as theoretically. So in this way, with the help of this demonstration strategy, the topic is cleared to the some very difficult topic is clear to the student. Such type of strategy is commonly used in science subjects. There are certain guidelines for effective use of demonstration strategy. Before starting the demonstration strategy or before going to the classroom to demonstrate certain thing, the demonstrator must be well selected. The material are easily available. The material which is used during the demonstration process, these materials are easily available. Get ready with the equipment and tools to be used. Before going to the classroom, it is very necessary to arrange all the equipment and tools which are used during the demonstration. Get ready. The demonstrator must try the activity several times before the real demonstrations for a smooth sequencing of the steps as well as accuracy of the result. Means some practice is needed by the demonstrator before going to the actual classroom. The observers must be prepared and motivated. It is again necessary to prepare the mind of the students before the demonstration starts. Now, these are the guidelines during the demonstration strategy. The place where demonstration is to take place must be quiet. Extreme care must be taken in performing some delicate steps. The activity must not be interrupted by anyone. They are allowed to take down short notes or record some data. Means students are completely allowed or permitted to take down short notes or record some data. It is again necessary to take care of certain guidelines after the demonstration strategy or after the demonstration done. Allow the students to ask them some questions and satisfy them with providing the answers to them. An examination of the observed data and all information recorded follows. Have an analysis of the trends, patterns, or uniform occurrences that can help in arriving at a conclusion. Means it is very necessary to conclude, to make a conclusion or conclude a statement before the students after the demonstration is done. Ask certain questions by the students to assess the learning. There are certain advantages of demonstration strategy. The first one is use of sense organs. During a demonstration, students can see, hear, discuss, and participate in the demonstration. This results in much more complete learning than passive listening to a talk. Further, it is also autocratic because in this method also, or in this strategy also, teachers are active, but students are passive because they are not doing anything. They are just seeing, listening. They are not doing anything with their hand. Generate interest and enthusiasm for learning. Properly carried out demonstrations can generate a great deal of interest and enthusiasm for a practice, as well as to provide the skills required for it. Task guidance. During the demonstration, teacher guides step by step and explains topic in an effective manner. Economy of supplies means few supplies needed in demonstration strategy because not everyone needs to handle material. Only teacher is doing the experiment or any demonstration. So there is less materials needed. If all the students do the demonstration, do the experiment, then more supplies are needed, but in this strategy, only teacher perform the experiment or demonstrate the things, then there is very little materials needed for the demonstration. Safety. As teacher is doing everything, so there is no risk to the students. This method allows the teacher to control potentially dangerous materials or machinery instead of students. So students remain safe during demonstration strategy. The very important advantage is that this demonstration strategy illustrates points efficiently. The demonstration is very useful when time is limited or when an explanation alone is not sufficient. For example, well-known demonstration of how to operate a microscope is far more effective than any amount of written or verbal instruction. If we are telling just about a microscope, what is microscope, how it looks, it is better, and how it works. It is better to demonstrate the working of the microscope so that students can be easily understand about the microscope and the working of the microscope. Demonstration provides change of pace. At times, a demonstration method is used for the purpose of giving students a break from other modes of instruction, especially verbal ones like lecture method. During lecture method, if teacher provide certain demonstration before the students, then this change of pace avoids the boredom that tends to set in with prolonged use of one particular mode of instruction, like lecture method. Lack of equipment. If schools do not have enough equipment needed for the experiment for individual student, this strategy is very important. During such situation, a teacher can resort to the method of demonstration to teach the concept. Further, there are certain disadvantages of demonstration strategy too. Not hands-on. It is not a direct hand-on experience for students unless being lead step by step. Here only the teacher performs the experiment and students just seeing the experiment. So such type of learning is not very retentive. Limited view. There are large number of students. So sometimes the students may not have an equal view of demonstration. So some may miss an aspect of the demonstration. Pacing issue. Teachers can do the demonstrate according to their pace. Not all students will be able to follow a single pace demonstration. If there are too many participants, some of them may be unable to hear and see clearly what is being demonstrated and may adopt wrong techniques. So the purpose of demonstration is filled in such situation. Shortage of time. Many people may not be able to practice the skill demonstrated adequately due to shortage of time or facilities. There are certain suggestions for effective demonstration. The teacher must take care of the following points. First one is carefully plan the demonstration. Like all other methods of teaching, the teacher must know exactly what teacher is doing. This is particularly Proof of the demonstration, where precision and clarity are crucial to the student's ability to understand what they see. Careful thought and research are needed to make sure that all phases of the demonstration are accurately and logically presented. Practice the demonstration. Before going to the actual classroom, it is very necessary for a teacher to practice the demonstration. Once a well thought out plan has been developed, ample time should be set aside to practice the demonstration. It is very risky to give a demonstration without having practiced it beforehand, especially when the procedure or topic is relatively complex or unfamiliar. Develop an outline to guide the demonstration. To ensure that the demonstration goes smoothly, it is a good idea to have an outline that lists the steps to follow, the material to use, the questions to ask, and the important points to make. To develop such an outline provides the teacher not only a guide for carrying out the demonstration, but also with a well-designed framework into which spontaneous ideas can be incorporated as the situation demands. Make sure that everyone can see the demonstration. It is very necessary to make arrangement that everyone can see the demonstration clearly. Next one is introduce the demonstration to focus attention. Students are likely to be interested in a demonstration and to understand it if they have at least a general idea of what to look for as it proceeds. A few interactive comments emphasizing the essential features and key terms of the demonstration can serve this purpose. During the demonstration process or after the demonstration process, it is very necessary to ask certain questions. The students should be encouraged to ask questions so that their verbal experiences are integrated with their visuals. Also, students should be asked questions at key points as a way of assessing how well they understand the demonstration. Means, during a demonstration process or a strategy, the students are allowed to ask questions and teachers should also ask questions to check the understanding of the students or to make the topic clear. It is very important to give answer to the questions of the students and also ask question to the students during the demonstration process. Plan a follow-up to the demonstration. A demonstration should be followed by activity that help students interpret and further understand the important points that were presented. Such activities could include a discussion or a written exercise in which students can describe what they have observed. By checking this or by assessing this, teachers are able to know the understanding of the students about the topic or about the activity or about the experiment which is demonstrated by the teacher in front of the students. Thank you.